Arrow Season 2, Episode 5, titled League of Assassins. This episode was a really cool action based episode, and it had some really good story elements in it, too. The fights were really cool because they were all tag team based fights. So the very first one was, Oliver and Sarah in Oliver's mansion, and then, the main guy who was kind of, the representative of the League for this episode. He bursts through the window of Oliver's mansion. He's attacking them, and I love the fact that Oliver thought, like the first thing he thought was like, Merlin, because it obviously shows that Merlin was with the League of Assassins because he wore their clothing. So it was kind of cool to get that tie in. And, they have their cool fight, and I love the part when, like, right after they first fight off the guy, they go into the other room, and then Sarah just jumps up and, like, grabs the, I don't know what it would actually be called, but she grabs the wood and, like, rips it down to use it as a bow staff. And I thought that was just, it looked really cool, and it was also very smart, thinking on her feet. But, she kind of gets knocked down. Oliver eventually beats the guy. Like, I feel like he didn't really like overpower the guy like he does most people, because this guy's obviously a member of the League, so he's very powerful. And Oliver does eventually, he kind of gets one up on him. And then once the guy sort of like throws the little dagger at the chandelier, he just vanishes, because Oliver turns, he turns back, the guy's gone. But it has some really cool fights, and the second fight was really cool too. I enjoyed that one. I think I enjoyed that one the most because it was such a wide view. So it was like, you look up, and then there's Sarah as Black Canary fighting two of the members. And then on the lower level, it's Oliver fighting the main guy. And it was just cool because you kind of had to watch, two things at once. And, they would be moving around. And then there's a scene where Sarah got cut. And I thought she just kind of got slashed. But then, of course, in the next scene, when Oliver's stitching her up, she got cut, like, right on her spine. I was like, that just, for some reason, that just made it a lot worse to me compared to, like, oh, they, cut my back or something sideways. It was just like, paralyzed or something. Make me scratch my back. But it was a really cool fight scene. She's beating up guys, he's beating up the main guy. And then eventually, they end up running off because they aren't exactly winning. And what they do when they introduce that second fight, when Oliver, shoots the arrow and the guy just catches it, I was like I actually whistled because it caught me off guard. I never would have expected someone to just, like Spidey senses going off, and he just catches an arrow, which is technically, it's supposed to be humanly impossible to do that, but it's for TV, so it looks amazing, and it was amazing. And then we go through, and then Sarah has to deal with, the League coming after her. She knows that they know who she really is, so they will go after her family as well. So she sends Felicity to warn her dad, and Oliver kind of goes to Laurel at, this is actually at a separate point in time, but when he goes with her, it was sort of double folded because he was in one way protecting her, from the League, and in another way protecting her from herself because of what happened, in the last episode. And it was cool. He goes to her house and he finds out that she isn't really the target, and it is, their father. And I love how when he sees the knife in the wall, he just stares at it, and when she like opens the door, he just yanks it out super fast. Something about that was funny to me. But when Detective Lance is basically in trouble, or when he doesn't listen to Felicity, Sarah, she tells him, she goes up to him and basically shows like, hey, I'm not dead. And they have a really good moment, and he talks to her, and when they're in the I guess the cafe, when the one woman like drops the little thing for the napkins and she just jumps up, you see how like scared she is. It's not just her, it's her having to protect her father, who, even though he's a trained cop, he couldn't possibly fight against the League of Assassins because they're like ninjas. So it's a little bit more difficult to do that. But it was great to see them have a moment. I really wish she could have stayed, because I was hoping, once they like beat the guys and stuff, she was gonna stay and become like a main character in the episode, even if she gave up being Canary so that she could pretty much just stay and watch her family. But she decided, I have to leave because they'll never stop coming after you and Laurel and Mom. So, it kind of sucks that she left, but they had a really good moment, where they were able to actually talk. And when they had the ending fight after she killed the one guy, she was kind of worried. She was like, I'm sorry you had to see that. I don't know what you must think of me. And Lance is just like, I think you're a survivor, you're strong, you're my daughter. And I thought that was a really good moment. It was like he kind of had a decision to make to say, you're a monster or a killer or whatever. But it was like, you're in a crazy situation. And after some of the stuff he dealt with, in season one, I think that might also have a bit of an influence, not nearly as much as the fact that, it's his daughter. But, like he kind of, I won't say warmed up to to her like killing people, but he accepted the fact that that's just the way it ended up being. That's the way it had to be, because that was the only reason she's alive anyway. And as long as she is, that's what's important to him. So now he has the secret. He knows she's alive, and he can't really say anything to Laurel or his ex-wife. But he knows that she's alive, and it's gonna kind of be like how Oliver has to deal with Laurel mentioning how Oliver died and stuff like that, where he knows like he was there when he died, or I said when Oliver died, when Tommy died. He was there when Tommy died, and so he has that sort of two sides of the same coin where he has to deal with Laurel being upset about that, and he has to be upset about the same thing, and now her father has that too in a sense, except in this case Sarah's actually alive, and he has to keep that secret, which might make it a little bit harder than what Oliver has to deal with. So that could come back in future episodes where it changes how he think about this situation or that situation, because now he knows my other daughter isn't dead. She didn't die all those years ago, but I can't tell my other daughter that, like, hey, your sister's alive, or tell my ex-wife our daughter never died. So it'll be cool to see how that plays out. But I thought they had a great moment in this episode, and he also had a good moment with Laurel at the end. And he pretty much dealt with that moment where she's talking about her sister and stuff like that. And well, no, that was with Oliver, sorry. But Oliver has that same moment, so he kind of has both, with having to deal with the Sarah stuff and the Tommy stuff. But I think it's a lot easier on him considering all the crap he went through on the island. And that kind of leads me to the backstory that we got in this episode, or the flashback really. And in this one, as much as I wanted to see what happened right after Oliver met up with Sarah, instead we got to see what happened to Sarah after she got kind of like swept off the boat. And she gets picked up by these pirates, and she meets Dr. Ivo. He basically tells the pirates to stop, and he takes her. And I'm gonna assume either he's a part of the League of Assassins, or he's just working with the League, because he talks about how the people are basically like his work. So I think he's more of like just a scientist who happens to also work for the League, and that could involve the Lazarus Pit and him finding a way to bring back Ra's al Ghul, who during this time might have been dead, because for anyone who doesn't know, Ra's al Ghul basically is immortal, and he goes through this stuff where it's like he died, but then he comes back because the Lazarus Pit resurrects people. So, just back and forth stuff. So maybe he was making it then, or trying to fix it for whatever reason it wasn't working. So I don't know, but I know Dr. Ivo is an important character. I do remember the name, and it's probably from Teen Titans that I remember that, but I can't remember exactly what he does. But he obviously had some role that led her to becoming a part of the Pirates. So I like to think he's with the League, but he could have just been a random guy who I'm sure will still come back, and I'm sure he's still alive after those 6 years, or after that first year on the island. So it'll be great to see where the flashback is for next week's episode, because I'm really excited to see just what they say to each other really after thinking each other died, because I'm sure she's not actually mad. I feel like she was just doing that, like she kicked Oliver. Like, she could easily be on camera, so who knows. But I don't think she's really super pissed, but at the same time she could be. So who knows. I mean, she wasn't pissed after she died the second time, so I feel like I don't know, she could have gotten over it because of the first time. Who knows. But excited for next week's episode. Thought this one was great. Like I said, sad to see her go, but on the plus side, we technically still have her because of the flashbacks, but she won't be like cool Black Canary and stuff. She'll be Sarah, who is just like one of the pirates. So it'll be cool to see exactly what they're looking for too. But love the episode. excited for next week's episode. Thought this one had some pretty good development for all the characters, really, particularly Oliver and the Lance family for the most part. But good episode. So comment below, let me know what you thought of it. Favorite part, least favorite part. Are you sad to see her go? Because I'm sure you are. And was there something you wish we had more of, you know, that involved Sarah? Because I know if there's anything aside from just having her in the show, of course, it's the fact that with her kind of being gone in the present, it sort of wipes out the fact that the League of Assassins has been introduced. I feel like it won't really be, part of the show anymore unless they do decide to, just bring them back in. So comment below. And I guess before I forget, they have a really good moment with Oliver and his mother and Thea. So I won't say this was exactly character development, but it was a really good moment when she decides, or when Oliver figures out, hey, this is what's going on with my mom. We need to go talk to her and tell her whatever is gonna come out, we're still gonna love you no matter what, because we'd rather know all these crazy secrets and have you in our lives than have you, have life in prison or the death penalty. So I thought that was a really good moment. It kind of tied in. It seemed like it was just hopeless the whole episode. She was just like, whatever these crazy secrets are gonna be, they were that important for her to be worried that her kids wouldn't love her. So I'm glad it sort of tied up in the end, and he was able to convince her, hey, we'll still love you, and she decided to, fight it. So I'm excited for that. I'm really hoping they don't give us like a twist and she does go to prison anyway. And I'm hoping she just like, I'm sure she won't get acquitted, but so I'm guessing she'll go to jail no matter what. But hopefully it won't be forever and she'll get out at some point, maybe next season. So I'm excited for that too. But comment below, let me know what you thought, and thanks for watching.